In the last videos, we already covered some major topics when it comes to women worldwide who are now about to learn a very harsh life lesson when it comes to especially relationships and why they are unable to maintain certain relationships. In today's video though, we are going to talk more about the at odds with reality entitled perspective that these bitches actually have when it comes to men and life in general, regardless the age. So in the last videos I've already covered, everything starts basically for most of them at the age of 5 for the next 15 plus years. So even a woman who is now 48, once again it's 15 plus years, just to make sure that we cover a lot of these women in that range. They believe from that early on that they are the prize. Society, because there's an agenda to be pushed to undermine men especially, have a goal in common. And these people who have that goal in common want you, the citizens, basically of every country, to do as told and not to question. You should not self-reflect, you should simply do as told, so the agenda can play out in a way that they already anticipate the outcome for. And they of course want us to destroy everything. They want to destroy society as a whole to create something new. What great use of a tool to basically use what men look for in a relationship to destroy them through that. So basically through the woman, men get destroyed on large. And that is also clearly to be seen in the justice system when it comes to relationships. A lot of these so-called women, so actually girls playing women, have a goal in their mind. They want to have a secured outcome in life. They look, most of them, a minimum of 51%. Minimum could be way more of all women in the dating area right now, in today's time, who are actually more or so behaving like a parasite, like a demon in a human form, looking for a secured life through a man. They are looking for potential. And they then try over time, under their circumstances, under their expectations, and especially under their time. So her time dictates how life goes. You as a man, you simply have to follow and shut up, because your emotions, your outcome, what you have planned for your life. When it comes to those relationships with sad women, doesn't matter. You are completely out of that game. In her perspective, in her mindset, in what she perceives as love and companionship towards you. Because she once again wants a secured life. And society is preaching that heavily, especially right now in the last 2-3 decades, of how women should basically punish men, behave, and make sure that these men who actually, if they were just secure in themselves, they would have a lot of swag. They would have a lot of attention, not just for themselves, but in society as a whole. And many men who are now, because they are insecure, financial cripples, for example, because they have made a certain wrong move, making, for example, a child with a wrong woman, they're financial cripples actually right now. Because of the parasite who wants a secure life. They want a trap because, once again, as I said in the videos prior, they know very well that they are unable to maintain a certain image that they hold for themselves for society to be seen. They know that the mask that they are wearing is going to crack over time, usually around 3 to 5 years. So it is in your best interest as someone of success that you absolutely do not marry, if at all, a woman in that time frame. Because she wants to make sure as quickly as possible to trap you through engagement, through marriage, and through children, so that you won't escape. And if you dare to escape at one point, so basically making her plan, cracking her plan, destroying that idea that she had in mind for you, you simply have to follow. That you are punished financially, because for Man, financial success also greatly dictates outcomes in life, especially when it comes to maintaining your own standards in life. You have peace of mind by having money. And peace of mind makes it possible for you to completely think in different categories that the system absolutely doesn't want you to even think about, consider about, because then you have options. You understand that there is more to life, more to your own dreams. That your own dreams that you once held are actually very obtainable, regardless how at odds with reality they might look, because you as the man, you are the maker, you are the problem solver. Because by solving problems or making life easier, not just for yourself, but society as a whole, you make sure that there is harmony. No? Something is flowing from A to B. For example, water down a pipe. If the pipe is broken, something is not working anymore. And if something is not working, problems occur. Time wasters occur because you do not get as much water, for example, out of something. You do not get something from life because something is not working. So you need to solve the problem in order to have harmony once again. So energy is flowing. You are at peace. For example, playing your own game. You should never even think about playing your own game because society treats man basically like, or highlights to man how to treat a woman. So your focus is basically on the providing and protection part. Some men, for example, that I will cover in later topics as well when it comes to, well, what kind of calibers of men there actually are with today's modern language, you know. They do not want to protect a woman. They want to give a woman as much freedom as possible in order to see who is that. Is she mature enough to handle someone like themselves? And if not, because the more freedom someone has, the more they show who they are, because they have choices, right? The more choices you provide to someone, the more time you have to think about certain outcomes. If you take choices away, you limit their outcome, you limit their how they walk through life, and you limit greatly to understand with whom you're dealing with. So these women, once again, from the early ages from 5 for the next 15 plus years, are treated as a princess, as someone who basically sits still like this phone and waits to be claimed by someone in their perception as worthy. The price doesn't have to do anything, because that is the nature of the price. The price basically doesn't lose value, right? The price will always be the price. The price will be in 15 years still the price. Do women of today on large display qualities of a price? Think about it. Yes or no? There's only two options. The answer is very clear. No, obviously not. They are, as I said already in the introduction, at odds with reality. They are delusional. Most of them are kept at an emotional state at the ages of 12 to 16, 17. So teenage love, teenage times, uncertainty, ups and downs. During teenage times, you had to study in order to get good grades, in order to make it to the next class, right? So there's uncertainty. You do not have as much time, for example, for certain hobbies, certain projects, certain people, and especially in that early age, teenage love, the significant other, for example. You don't know if you were about to see them next week or next class. Maybe they make it, maybe they don't. So there's ups and downs. Do I get a good grade? Do I not get a good grade? What will be the outcome of this school system? Will there be later on university? Will there be nothing after that? Will they have to work after that? Blah, 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 etc., etc., pp. So it's uncertainty, it's drama, nonsense, bullshittery that a lot of emotional, unintelligent women thrive on. They do not thrive on harmony, silence, peace, routines, that tomorrow you will be doing the same thing as you did yesterday, because it's boring. They do not have to even think about in categories of problem solving, self-reflecting. Why should they? They are the prize. They don't have to do anything. The prize basically sits still and waits to be claimed. And when you think about it, in today's time, the prize usually can't cook. The prize is very bad at cleaning. The prize is very bad at problem solving, at logical thinking. The prize is basically acting on temporary emotions that could actually destroy every harmony perceived back years to come, or in the past even. Because, once again, there is no self-reflection. She is not willing to cooperate with you. She's argumentative. She is not feminine. She wants things under her way, in her time, under her circumstances, so that the external world around her validates her as the prize, that she does the right thing. So you as the guy, you basically have to earn certain amount of money per year. You have to do XYZ. You have to be this tall. You have to be this muscular or not muscular. You have to be that kind of caliber of a man. I don't know. You have to fulfill every criteria basically imaginable. For what? To gain drama and nonsense later on in your house life? On a daily basis? I've also covered the topic when certain men, for example, come home from their jobs. They have to do certain tasks that are actually very dangerous. They have to be fully concentrated in their craft because it could cost them, for example, their life. And they come home and have to pretend that the wife is actually doing a way harsher and more brutal job than him, even though he is about or could be injured heavily. Nah, she has to do a lot of things at home. She has to do this incredible work that is so incredibly unfulfilling to do. You have to clean like crazy, even though they are unable to clean logically and actually in a perceived way by others effectively. There's lots of clips on Instagram, on YouTube that you can actually watch when you see couples having discussions with therapists, and then the man claiming to work like 80, 90, 100 hours a week and more, completely tired, and the woman claims to do as much as him, even more so. And then the therapist basically asks if you've seen that clip. And then you wake up from your dream and find yourself in reality that you're actually not doing as much as you claim to do. Because once again, they think they are the prize. The prize sits still. But they are not the prize. If they were, their value wouldn't decrease over time. A woman, a real woman of great caliber, would still be the prize 15 years later, even though she might be aging a little bit visibly. Yeah? She's still the prize though, because she has aspects of herself, qualities, capacities of thinking outside the norm that make her not just a great asset to your life because she takes tremendous amounts of stress levels off of you, but also to her surroundings. She makes sure that everything, just like men do, work in harmony. She's also interested in harmony. Most delusional women are not interested in that because, once again, in their non-existing emotional intelligence, having harmony, peace, and silence basically equals boring. Yeah? Society once again highlights that you can be an exceptional man, having lots of money, or are about to become incredibly successful. The internet will tell you you are mediocre. I've said it already once. You are boring because you have routines. You're respected. You have a responsible way of thinking and acting towards the external world. So you have routines. that are boring because she thrives on chaos. Huh? That's why, for example, because they're emotionally unintelligent, they are not able to tell the difference between the good man and the bad boy. The good man is at the same time the bad boy as well, has the qualities of that, but is able to responsibly act in society. If certain situations require certain actions, a good man will do them without hesitation. A bad boy is not interested in stuff like that. They thrive, just like this immature brat, the woman, on chaos. They manipulate women and especially their emotions. You don't know, there's uncertainty once again in the teenage time. You don't know what's up with him, where he is, what he's doing, what he's planning for the future. Is he really serious with the woman or not? Is he sleeping around or not? Uncertainty. And they're playing because they're little boys playing to be men. And these are the guys who wait, for example, when it comes to relationships, to see if there are cracks in certain relationships that they can misuse and abuse. Confirmation. And that is the characteristic of weak men. They will stab you in the back and smile all the time in your face. That I've also mentioned why you should stay away from, that I will cover also in later topics as well. It's very important that you learn to play your own game as quickly as possible. Playing your own game as a man means you will basically push away what society is telling. What you should have accomplished by a certain age. That you should have already impregnated a woman 2 or 3, 4 times by the age of 26 and 27, whatnot. That you should already own a house on debt, like the rest, That you should already basically be divorced 6, 7 years later when you're 32, 35, 50, whatever. Because you have followed the path of society. You play it safe. People who play it safe in life will always lose because they don't allow themselves to be themselves. As I always say in my videos, have the courage to be yourself. So you have to defy society in order to find yourself. You have to basically protect yourself from your own surroundings, your own family, your own friends, your own co-workers. You have to have high standards, high morals to act on in order to be a functional, fully evolved man later on in life. Or when you're about to enter a relationship, you are already a whole man. And when, for example, unfortunately, a relationship ends, you are still a whole man afterwards. You don't lose yourself, huh? Like these weak bastards actually do. They meet a girl and then they disappear. They don't play games anymore. No more computer times, no more basketball times, soccer times, nothing like that. Paintball, everything's gone. Less and less and less. And you eventually only hear any information on them when it's about to either enter marriage time, so they invite you, or you hear information that they are already no longer a couple and that they will be back and no longer abandoning their friends and companions that they've known for 2 decades, and there's gaming time, and only to find themselves a few years later again in the same situation because they were all the time weak to begin with. And that is something that you simply have to realize, because once again, she wants a certain outcome for you to be played out in order for her to ensure that secured lifestyle. You are the living paycheck to that. And eventually, if you follow everything that she does and you're nice and blah 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 and good and here and you've done this, and eventually you are allowed to have certain freedoms, certain time for yourself, certain whatevers. And if you have a problem by whatever, Don't you dare to lose your job. Don't you dare to lose money. And especially don't you dare to bring basically disharmony into the family by highlighting that you're incapable of solving something. Because that will already hint to such promiscuous women who need to look for someone else already in the back of the mind, because they all of the time have a rose stand around them. Certain messenger apps that they are using that are known for example, you can send certain things and then it deletes after 24 hours, or you can make sure that certain messages, pictures and videos are only seen once and then they disappear. Who's using stuff like that? If you're really honestly looking for long-term, and long-term I mean like you are very serious when it comes to dating, you're long-term looking for life basically, not for some fun time, 5-6 years and then long-term. That's why so many women, girls playing women, can actually play so many men, because the men think that the first girlfriend, they have this idea that the first girlfriend will be the only one. You meet someone at a certain place through a certain hobby, at a certain age, at a certain time, from a certain country or continent, whatever, and that this specific person is going to be your woman, your girl. You know, this is the idea for a lot of guys. And through this idea, they allow themselves, for example, to be played by these loser quality women. And once this idea is shattered, the games do not work on them anymore. Some at that age, when they realize it, are, for example, unfortunately, financial cripples for the next 18, 20 years. Because they have done certain decisions. They have made a child with a wrong woman. They've made 2, 3, 4 children. Only to realize she's cheating on him with 6 other guys, for example. Or she is stealing money all the time. Or she is sleeping around with the same gender even, and hiding that. That is more of a joke actually that you can smile about, because at least it's not some other douchebag that has maybe even worse qualities to even imagine, you know. You can chuckle, you can smile about that idea. Usually when it comes to these losers, this is more like to punish you, to make sure that you are not healing if the relationship is over, if you have ended the relationship, because they want to claim the idea and narrative to her surroundings, to their surroundings. But you are the bad one. She did the right thing by leaving you, even though you have left her a long time ago. And it's very important, if you become successful in that time frame, or you are already had been all along successful, you were just hiding your success in order to test her. Yeah? And depending on the caliber of who you are, you might be testing her for 5 or 10 years or even 15 years, withholding that success that you actually have, because you want to test the bitch. You want to see, who is that? Is she really her? Is she really that one she's claiming to be? So you're hiding your success. Especially if the relationship is over, you don't overshare. You're not like what so many Jimmys and Johnnies are doing, like they're going to the gym and then, you know, we need to get BAM and stuff like that, and this nonsense. Only to find themselves later on, 5 to 6 years, usually, another girl is coming, and they find themselves in the same, almost same relationship dynamic, becoming insecure again, because they were never a whole man to begin with. You can be a whole man when you're 15. There's many moronic morons out who pretend to be the ultra and omega by dressing themselves in a certain way, acting and highlighting certain things, only to be seen as a fraud actually later on. Because they never walk in truth to begin with. They can't, because certain deals that they want to do, certain outcomes that they anticipate, require them to be a moronic moron, to be a liar, to be a cheat, basically, to society. Huh? wearing sunglasses, dressing themselves in a certain way, talking that they are playing the game and blah, 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 blah. While in fact they are losers to begin with. These are usually the weak bastards that every good woman should watch out for. Now, if that is your style, of course, you dress yourself, you are always having dressed yourself in such a way, that's a different story. But you usually then also act and behave differently. Act for yourself and behave in society differently. You speak for the truth. You're not afraid to defend the truth, regardless how many billions of morons think otherwise. You simply follow because the truth is the truth. The truth is harsh, direct, and brutal. And there's no sugarcoating around it. You can't manipulate with the truth. Because once the truth is out, you see the outcome and the world around yourself not in the same way anymore. And once you learn that, when it comes to many, many different topics, but especially this one here, relationships, you realize how many women, or so-called perceived women, girls playing women, are only there basically for a good time and nothing else, because they lack the maturity, the quality it actually takes to move in a complete different energy through life. Like an actual queen, like an actual goddess, that has her standards very high, that does not have loser quality girlfriends around herself who are jealous of her success, jealous and envious of the relationship that she might have, because she, for example, doesn't have to trap a guy through a child, through early marriage within a time frame of 1 to 3 years. Nothing like that. They might be, as I've said in the videos prior, they might be together for 2-3 decades. No one is even engaged, nothing. Do you think for a lot of women that's the case? No. They absolutely do not understand what love is. Love to them is met under certain conditions, certain outcomes, certain decisions made prior in the past that have consequences in the future, positive or negative, regardless the polarity. And they're looking for this secured lifestyle. Now they have a girlfriend, for example, in their circle that acts completely differently, has a complete different outcome in life. So to them, to these promiscuous girlfriends, it is perceived as she has luck on her side. She always meets the right people at the right time, under the right circumstances, and her life is perceived to be on the easy side, for example, or the same for the guy. His life is all the time blessed, basically. He is getting paid to just exist. And they aren't. They have to, basically, these women trap someone early on because they know that they do not have what it takes to bring the relationship to the next level, to a secured, harmonized outcome. Because there is no harmony inside to begin with. They thrive on chaos. They are absolutely unable to enjoy even the idea of silence. That's why you see, for example, so many videos out there where a guy can simply stare into nothingness and be happy because he's truly, absolutely not thinking anything. She cannot understand that. Because there is no harmony, peace, and silence inside to begin with. There's always the next thing. Even though they had a great relationship back then, in the early stages, maybe the first 3-4 years. Now they are, for example, together for 2 decades. There's children involved. They are grown, they are already 5, for example, 5 years of age. And they see another couple having the same things that they had in that time frame of 3 years. She's pissed because she doesn't perceive and receive that anymore. So there's a time difference of, for example, 12 years, 15 years, 20 years. It doesn't matter. It's not met anymore. That condition is not met anymore. So they absolutely do not care what they currently have. They are interested in what others have. That's why so many say women, or these so-called women, want things that they cannot have. Even if they, for example, were thrown away by a guy, now what is the condition? She can't have him anymore. Now she wants him. She wants things she cannot have because it's uncertainty. Will she ever be able to get someone, to get that money, to get that success, that outcome in life or not? That's why you have so many moronic morons with sunglasses telling you have to be mysterious and you have to disappear and you all this bullshit. You have to have the mindset of a solitary man, of a lone wolf, of a popular loner, of someone in a mission by God. So you absolutely all life long, even if you have a girlfriend, even if you have a wife, even if you have children, you will never truly absolutely care if you have a woman or not. Of course you would protect. Once a woman has shown herself to you and proved herself to you over time who she is, you will protect her and eventually children as well, by all means, maybe even your own life, right? Because you love her so much and she has shown you who she is. But all life long you do not care. Is there a woman or isn't there a woman? Is there money or isn't there money? Is there success or isn't there success? Or will success decline at one point and reappear later on? That is the qualities of a type of a man that I will be discussing in future videos. Just a little hint now. But you all the time are the solitary man, the one with swag and potential. Huh? And not some moronic moron who's pretending. By pretending, you only attract those pretenders as well. Wearing a mask. The mask is starting to crack within those 3 to 5, 6 years. That's the time frame you need to test a woman. Look how everything has changed. Now it is hopefully my son will, or our son will meet a good woman. Back then it was vice versa. It's completely changed drastically. Absolutely. Crazily. Wild times. Because there's an agenda. And the agenda is getting pushed. It's not just one agenda, there's many at once being pushed. And people who have goldfish attention span, 5 seconds. I've also made many videos about that already. The way videos are made, cut, edited in a crazy way. They're unable to consume long videos without music, long videos without editing and zooming in and lefts and rights and ups and downs and crazy. And they are unable to do so. Do you really believe that people like that, women like that, guys like that are able to understand what's going on in the world? They're easily captured by nonsense, easily captured by idiocy and moronic ways of infiltrating life. Certain headlines pop up, ooh, and they're scared already. This is incredible what people think, and this is more of a mindset of a child. They are children, as I said. They are basically kept at that teenage time, that teenage love, that uncertainty. There's ups and downs. The bad boys, they play that part. He doesn't know what's going on. He's perceived as the better option, for example, than someone who has routines, high standards, who walks alone, who is working a lot, who is meditating a lot, who has a lot of money, is just hidden. It's boring. I've said that you could be someone who has 50 million on the side. You are boring. You are perceived as boring. You can live in Dubai right now, having all sorts of business going on. You walk in truth. Boring. because you do not met a certain criteria for a certain time frame under certain conditions in her time. Ups and downs, left and right. Ooh, boring. Absolutely boring. And I've been warning about that. That's why I was told already when I was 15, 16, 17, man, you are wise beyond your actual age. And I got told it by actual women who were women and not some promiscuous bitches. And I told those things, and this made it very impossible for a lot of these clown girls during the time frame as well. That's why they hated me as well, not just the guys. Because I made it impossible for them to manipulate someone. And this unmanipulated guy basically spent more time playing computer games, spent more time playing soccer, a hobby. Reading books, maybe even, doing meditation, going to the gym. And developing standards, because most guys do not have standards to begin with at that early age, unfortunately. Because they are getting told how to just treat women. So the perspective already early on shifts on women, how to treat women. Oh, this is a lady, you need to open the door, and so on. There is no talk about you need to develop a mindset to start your own game as early as possible. Because to play your own game means, and I will be heavily focusing on that on the man's aspect videos as well. You're confident. You do give a shit. Once again, what society tells you to do. You play your own game. Your own success will manifest not just for yourself, but later on in the outside world. It takes time because society pressures men to do certain things that at a certain age and blah, 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 blah. Just imagine the pressure, for example, during world wars, that men were expected to be put into the military. And those that dare to defy that, also the pressure of the family. You're not a real man. Everyone is fighting on the lines and laying dead with their faces later on a few weeks later, only to be eaten by wild animals. Blown limbs up left and right. You can see those history videos, where they were jumping on the trains and smiling and waving back. Yeah, they will be back in a few weeks. This is easy peasy, lemon squeezy going on. Clowns that allowed themselves to be played because they listened to their environment, society, an agenda that wants war, for example. Society meaning now friends and family. And why do I, for example, always bring friends and family and co-workers in everything when it comes to, for example, relationships, and especially with women who are listening to these loser environments? Think about when you imagine, or not just imagine, when you read about the statistics of murder. It usually happens inside the family, inside the friend circle, and eventually the neighbors. It's very, very rare to have an outsider kill someone because that someone, for example, had been at the wrong place at the wrong time. That's very rare. It's usually some jealous moronic idiot, a moronic moron, not having met his needs, standards, and outcomes, who's so envious and jealous of someone else's success, or because things didn't go the way they went, that they later on kill someone. Because they have zero emotional intelligence to begin with. Emotional intelligence also means that you do not fold under pressure. In many cases, when a relationship, for example, ends, how you act right after that, couple months later, that is the real you. Are you someone who is silently walking away? Or are you someone who's gossiping, creating drama and nonsense and a certain narrative around your friends, circle, and family to make sure that all of them look very bad on the other one, to only eventually, over time, find out, oh, that had been all a lie to begin with. That's why people who walk in truth, time is their best friend. Always let time decide everything. Time shows and highlights all the actions taken place. Everything what was hidden will always come to the light, because that is the job of time. If you walk in truth, of course that is. And just like I am right now watching on my clock, time once again, everyone becomes older, right? Women becoming older. Women do not like in general to mention their age. I do not know why. This is just some nonsense bullshittery going on. Because they want to play this stupid game to be perceived as innocent, even though they aren't. Because if you are really innocent, really pure, and by being pure, I don't mean that you would never think of having immense wild sex with your significant other. Purity means you are not stealing, deceiving, manipulating, and cheating. That is purity. None of those attributes met, you are a good person. Nothing else. So do not think that you have to do extraordinary things as well. A good woman and a good man can have the most amazing wild sex you can actually imagine. They may record themselves, not upload it or upload it, I don't care. But it is all the time throughout the years and decades later on amazing. Because they walk in a different energy. They think differently. They act differently. They walk in union together. And not someone is fighting the other. Like it is in so many relationships. Once again, she wants everything met under her time, under her circumstances, in her way. She dictates everything. And if you follow, then you might be allowed to be happy once in a while. Not the other way around. So they see, by becoming older and being unable to maintain relationships, because they all the time break apart. They might have sex for certain years. They might have children with someone, but they still cannot maintain it. Even though marriage, being trapped by marriage, they're unable to hold that. They're unable to maintain that relationship. The guy still breaks out. Yes, he might be a financial cripple, but he's still gone. And now these women see clearly that there are younger ladies around who do not do the same mistakes as them. So they already are walking with a great advantage. And the little girls right now, I've also mentioned that at one point. Your future woman could be right now 12. So give it time, 1-2 decades. Remove yourself from this idiotic marketing pool of dating. Just focus on yourself. And you do not have to heavily focus on the money aspect. The money aspect will just naturally become better. Because you are not spending crazy amounts of money to entertain someone else's mentally ill daughter, So that's why there's those memes going on that you only have to spend $10 with your best friend, or 15, $20, and that's it, instead of all the time spending 200, 300 per meal when you're going out. Just to have a good time, and you don't even know how long this thing is about to stay, and the money aspect will always naturally improve if you walk in truth. If not, then you have, of course, problems. That's just by design, because you're not playing your game. By playing your game, you're confident. You do not care if anyone will ever listen to you. because you walk in truth. You're so high walking in frequency that basically for other people you are invisible. And it highlights itself mostly in the real world. You can go to certain places and no one is going to realize you are there. But once you enter a closed room, regardless how large it is, everyone is staring at you. But in the public transportation system, you can just pass by. No one's listening, no one's watching, nothing. Because you decide in that moment, no, you don't want to be seen. And it's going to happen. And in rooms where you, in those rooms you enter, the mindset is already, because you have to do certain things at that place. So you have to highlight your intentions. Subconsciously or consciously, that depends on the individual. People are going to notice you. Even someone at the very end of a room, they're going to watch you all the time. Suddenly you are their whole world, all attention on someone. And most people cannot handle attention. Just imagine back in time when you were at school having a presentation. Most people became red in their face. They were starting to stutter. They didn't know what to say. They didn't know how to act and move. They were simply probably reading only what they have written down for that presentation. Word by word even. And they were very, very happy once the presentation was finally over, because they had no confidence to begin with. So imagine now someone appearing on stage in front of 50 people, in front of 200-300 students, and doing it completely differently. Walking with their arms behind their back, through the class, through the tables, not reading what's on paper, no paper in hands, just eventually mentioning there's additional information on the side that they can read when it comes to changing topics. Because maybe you have to click something so the next page appears on the screen. And then you all the time ask questions. Of course, someone like that is going to be hated tremendously. I know that very well because that was me. And I'm probably the only one certain in Europe, maybe even in the last 2 decades on the entire planet, that walked like this while having presentations. I do not believe that there was someone else doing the same thing. Completely not giving a shit how you're perceived, maybe even making jokes, like talking like Borat, talking like an Indian guy about certain topics during that presentation when it comes to grades that basically define your future. And you're suddenly talking about incest and how your father has to completely all the time impregnate your own sister in order to have milk throughout the year. Because you are so poor in Kazakhstan that you can't actually do anything. Out of nowhere. And not just 1 or 2 lines. You start to talk later on, 15 minutes into the presentation, where a professor of high honor, you can say, is watching. And probably in the beginning not understand what the fuck is going on right now. And that's why I got told this is the best thing that they have ever seen in 2-3 decades. And I got told that by 2 different professors. The others were just maybe applauding and whatnot. And you, of course, earn also by people who have those students. There were also students that had high confidence levels. You earn their respect. And they know, ooh, this is someone that you can do something later on with, for example. But the majority, though, they will despise you. That you dare to make fun during those harsh times when it's about to be defined for the future, You have to present in order to get 14, 15 points. Because that mark basically determines what kind of job you eventually might later have. Now imagine someone absolutely not caring about that. and walking in incredible high confidence. You can be humble, and I have been humble for like 2 decades. At one point, it is enough, and you have to actually show who you really are in order to attract also the other ones who are the same, on the same wavelength, you might say. And there are also women who at one point they have enough and they really show who they are, whatever it is. Maybe it's in a dancing studio. They suddenly do not do as told, this choreography, the planned routines in dance. No, she does suddenly something completely different. And everyone is at awe at what she's doing there, how she's dancing. This is not even planned to be done in a certain way, or right now. And she does that in front of an audience. It's not even planned. No one, and suddenly all the people around start to wonder, like, what's going on? Very few probably were about to go with the flow, because people usually do as told. Once something happens that is of uncertainty, they don't know what to do anymore. So this is also something to keep in mind. By walking in truth, in confidence, you create your own game. And you do not make the same mistakes because you completely think differently. You rather spend time doing meditation, investing money, keeping money, all sorts of things. Buying real estate, doing business XYZ, not having to lie, not giving a shit if you get sponsor or not. You speak the truth, which means you attract success sooner or later anyway. Because you bend reality. And by bending reality, the people around will then just start to wonder what's going on. This doesn't make sense. But that guy or that girl speaks in a way, highlights in a way, information that naturally later on throughout the years comes to the public eye. And they then only wonder, how is that possible? How could someone know what's going on or what we're about to go on? Spending your time differently. Not wasting time like so many people do. Spending time alone on the weekends. Spending time doing a lot of sport. Spending time a lot of doing meditation. Having hobbies that in the beginning might not give you any money to begin with. Begin. And later on, through that hobby, you become successful. You played your own game. You didn't give a shit, boy or girl, what your surroundings were telling you to do. Women who absolutely do not stress about children. So the question never arises in a relationship. It either happens at one point or it doesn't. It doesn't matter. They will later on always have a wonderful, harmonious relationship with children or not children, regardless the age. The child will be healthy, nothing to worry about. And these women who are stressing about these things, who are deceiving in order to get that outcome as quick as possible, imagine the kind of energy in that body that the child is growing in. It will absorb that, for sure. All the stress, all the worries, all this manipulation, so that a woman is watching at the man and is being able to plot against his future. What does that do to a child, to a growing child inside that womb, and also to the man? Do you want someone like that around you? I've already mentioned that in other videos as well. There's always this reference, and I've mentioned it many times. Cut these motherfuckers out as quickly as possible. Once you identify who is who, cut them out. Your own family, doesn't matter. Cut them out. And you will be thankful. The quicker you do, the more time you have to actually get rid of this stupid knowledge that you not only, for example, learned by school and institutions, but also by your family. In order for you to be able to walk your own path. Always walk the path less traveled, because there are the mysteries hidden basically in plain sight, under a rock, behind a tree, that will be able for you to remember who you are. You will find through these mysteries yourself, your strengths, and attract certain outcomes that make it for you to be seen light years ahead of everyone else. I already made a video about 5 things how you know that you are way ahead of time by someone else. You are ahead of the other people because they all the time compare their own life to you because they are not confident to begin with. Someone who's successful, confident in themselves, they will never compare their life to someone else. You will be happy that someone else is also becoming successful, because that means this could be a potential friend for life. People who do shady shit want to abuse you, misuse you, and throw you away if you're not of profit to them at one point in time. So always keep in mind, even though the video was or is still about a woman and the promiscuous state these entitled bitches have, because they're at odds with reality, their actions greatly highlight their disastrous outcomes in life throughout time. I'm already hinting and highlighting the next videos that are coming that will surely only solely focus on those aspects and not always me, for example, jumping back and forth. And maybe, but I won't promise it, probably not, the videos might be a little bit of less length. But I'm pretty sure I'm lying here right now and they won't be, because information like that, critical spiritual information about life, shall never be broken down to be perceived and received by moronic morons of low quality, because they will be only hearing the nonsense they are able to perceive. So while I'm speaking and all these things might make sense to successful people, to unsuccessful idiots, this absolutely does not make sense. They will only pick certain aspects and then trying to bash on the other ones because that is what they are perceiving on a daily basis. They are not successful. Their life choices greatly highlight how unsuccessful these people are. And they have no harmony, peace, and silence in their life. They are basically plagued all the time by stress, illness, lack of money, lack of freedom, lack of choices, lack of companionship, and have the audacity to even be upset at other people. That's how much of a loser these people are. And that's why it's very important to identify who is who and then cut them off. Maybe it's better for you to walk alone for the next 5 years than to be surrounded by moronic morons who will hinder your progress and actually beneficial results for life. Something to think about. So always consider what you perceive, what you watch, reflect on it, write it maybe down on paper, yeah, and act accordingly in order to make the necessary decisions for a better future. So you later on have a great life to enjoy and to talk about. Have the courage to be yourself.